What?
One, two.
Laffy trying to count.
We'll get there. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Live Before Lock Show presented by No House Advantage. I'm Dave Loughran. Over on that Twitter's at Laffy _D, LOUGHY_D. Give your boy a follow. Say what's up while you're at it. And while you're over there, hit up my guy, Josh Engleman, at Josh Engleman. Joining me for an NBA Live Before Lock at 8 p.m. on the East Coast, man. Times have changed, but you know what? As the game progresses, as DFS progresses, you get $150,000 top prizes, and you and I keep talking basketball.
We do. And I don't know if we've ever done a Live Before Lock show together, which is kind of weird. If we have, it's like I could probably count it on one hand.
I'm going to go ahead and say no.
Yeah,
I don't think we have.
I don't know. It would have had to be like a very break in case of emergency type thing where like somebody had to fill in somewhere.
Yeah, I would think so. But we're going to be doing a few of them as we draw closer to the end of the season. Look, things could change quite a bit tonight. If the Clippers don't end up carrying this to game 6, then we're going to have some days off in between the finals, Josh. And then if the Bucks end up going 4-1, I know you've got them at 4-2. Then you've got another scenario where we're going to have a little bit of a layoff. So let's enjoy it while we have it, talk a little basketball today, and welcome everybody in. What's going on? We got like 700 people in here already. We just got started. So appreciate you hanging out with us as we get kicking it off here. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. I mean, at least put us over 100. We're at 83 out of the gate because we got some, just OG Awesemo people that no matter what, that thumbs up is hit, and we appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel too. Well on our way to that 60,000 mark. I think we can get there before football. I think we can make that happen. But once we get to football,
what are we at right now?
55-8.
I think we can get there before football.
I think so. I think once football happens, like once football starts, just gonna,
to the moon, man.
Lift off.
Like Safe Moon right now for me.
Is Safe Moon rocking again?
Might as well be at 0.
All right, so the complete opposite of Safe Moon. And thanks to all you guys for smashing that thumbs up straight out. It gives us the power to keep this one going, and that's exactly what we'll do. So we got, one game, Josh. That's all we're going to have for the remainder of the season. You got Adam Scher over there on baseball now, which I would highly suggest, if you haven't been playing MLB, check out the deeper dive. Check out Live Before Lock. I mean, you've got great baseball shows happening right now, big MLB slates. Showdown slates for NBA are still huge, but I mean, there's still a lot going on, man. You have you've got McGregor-Poirier coming up on Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Sorry?
2 weeks. It's not this Saturday.
12th,
it's next Saturday.
Right?
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Good, because this Saturday I'm going to be out of commission, which is a good thing. Next Saturday, you've got just a lot of stuff. I mean, we've got tennis projections and a bunch of stuff coming up with that. Like, there's just, I don't know. There's still going to be a lot going on, even if we only got basketball every other day.
Yeah, it's nonstop here. I mean, basketball might be coming to an end, but sports aren't really going anywhere, and we aren't going anywhere. Whether we're making a transition to baseball or, football is right around the corner. We have a ton of content. Wimbledon right now going on strong. We've got everything.
Check it out at awesemo.com/join. If you haven't yet, we're going to have some awesome promos too. But if you want to jump in on a week, 25% off straight out of the gate. Live Before Lock is the promo. Live Before Lock, all one word, all caps. Get you ownership, player projection, top stack tool, boom, bust tool. Everything you can think of is over there at awesemo.com. And you can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, all of the premium articles, everything for baseball, basketball, football, MMA, PGA, NASCAR, projections, ownership, top fighter, top stack, just whatever. Check it out for yourself. See for yourself. Everything created by the #1 ranked DFS player out there, Alex Baker himself, and used by him as well to win a ton of money. And when we do Hall of Fame segment later on, you'll see we got the Awesemo avatars up top quite a bit, and we'll show them off for you. We'll do the bragging for you later on in the show. But first, Josh, before we jump into the actual slate tonight, I think it's only appropriate that we hit on kind of a series review here. We've gone 4 games already. And you and I both had the same thought in mind without even speaking earlier on the strategy show. I asked you, what do you think the point differential is in this series? And you said, well, I was going to ask you the same thing. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think the point differential is Clippers +3 in the series, despite being down 3-1.
Definitely somewhere in the neighborhood of Clippers +3 to 6 or something like that. I don't remember
Clippers
what it is off the top of my head. Either way, the Clippers have scored more points than the Phoenix Suns so far in this series. And yet, by all accounts, they're likely to go home. We're more likely to go home for the year than not do that today, which is kind of crazy. And I guess it's, I'm guessing the line probably ends up moving like a half point with this Zubac's news. Zubac's out, by the way, for any of you tuning in, didn't know it. The series is significantly closer than it seems, and it's going to end up being 4-1 Suns, and that's going to get lost to history. That Paul George played pretty well and kept them alive, and just sort of, I don't know, he did just enough to keep them alive and just enough to also send them home.
You think this is going to be a blowout tonight?
No, I don't think so. Although we're going to learn a lot about the health of Marcus Morris and Nick Batum. I think it becomes a blowout for every additional minute that Boogie Cousins has to be on the floor, because I think that he is going to get absolutely truck sticked by everyone. It's going to be bad if he has to play a lot of minutes. He might just have to, but I don't know how much he could actually even play. But for every minute that he has to play, it's going to be really bad for the Clippers.
Yeah, it's not going to be good at all. And I've got some good props that I like later on in the show we'll hit on. I know you've got a couple of them as well. Excuse me. I think that's a good night for some of that, especially given the Zubac's news. If you can try and figure out exactly never going to figure out exactly what's going to happen, but Ty Lue's been pretty smart about things. And I think we can read into this enough to gauge or get our finger on the pulse of what we should be expecting tonight. But ultimately, you could explain it away and say, oh, they got a +3 point differential because they had that one game where they won by 14 points. Sure. But every other game they lost was by only a handful of points, if not one possession. So that's kind of the point here. If you're under the assumption, like our producer, Jordan Klein is also big time Clippers fan, has the sign back there from going to game 6 against Utah or something like that. Can't remember, but he went to a game of the Clippers at the Staples Center. And he said, I think they've just, given up and they've accepted that they're going to lose. Josh, I disagree. They were down 0-2 in back-to-back series against a good Jazz team and a very good Luka Doncic. This is a better Suns team than both with Chris Paul healthy. I'm not saying it isn't, but I do think here, even in Phoenix, I think the Clippers still put up some fight. The question is, how the hell are they going to manage this center rotation? And I think that's probably what we get into right away. But from a showdown strategy standpoint, when you're looking at this just overall strategy today on a slate like this, is there anything that stands out about it that's different from the rest? Because earlier in the day, you're talking about even like Pat Bev at captain spot.
Yeah, Demarcus Cousins has changed the game a little bit now, most likely. He's the flat minimum $1,000. And I expect him to have to play significantly more than he was going to play before. But even if it's just like 8 minutes, Boogie at $1,000, I think is going to end up being very, very popular. I have walked my Beverly stance back slightly. I am still significantly over the field on him on both the flex and the captain spot, but it's not as extreme as it was earlier today. The guy that I have my eye on most overall from the Clippers is now Reggie Jackson.
I like Reggie a lot too. A lot. And as a matter of fact, it was just building lineups with Reggie in the captain spot. The biggest question here now that Ivica Zubac is out, and Jordan, we can actually flip over to that because this is where we're going to spend a lot of time today. This is the biggest. This is when you get news like this on a showdown slate, in the conference finals, it's big because you don't have that very often. Like if Trae Young sits next game, it's going to be insane. It's going to be, especially if it comes out relatively late in the day. Zubac played 40 minutes last game, Josh. Not only that, but prior to last game, he played 33 and 34 minutes. So he's getting legitimate starter minutes. The biggest factor in all of this isn't that Zubac is out, but more so, what do they have to replace him? Marcus Morris is not a traditional 5, and even if he was, he's not fully healthy. It's very obvious at this point, not even closing games. Demarcus Cousins has been a complete liability, and he hasn't been in the rotation. Aside from that, who the hell do you have? Like what Marcus Morris was on the floor every minute that Zubac didn't play last game. I get that, but can you really run him out there for 35 minutes tonight? And if so, do you think he's healthy enough to do it?
It's not going to help anybody to say this out loud, but I wish that I knew. Obviously, Morris has to play a little bit more than he's been playing. I don't know how much he could actually play, but I gave him a minutes bump. I think Nick Batum has to play more minutes than he had been playing. If either of those two things aren't true statements, then either Boogie Cousins is playing 20 plus minutes, which to me, I think is impossible. Or like, do they dust off like Patrick Patterson for a rotation when Dario Saric is out there? I don't even know if he's healthy. He hasn't played in over a month. That's for sure. So like Daniel Latoro got blowout run. Could he get out there? I don't know. So I'm betting on this. I think Boogie gets like a legitimate rotation and a half, and you hope for the best. I think Marcus Morris plays a little bit more. I think Nick Batum plays a little bit more. I think Rondo is now officially on the floor for at least a rotation today. I think they're going to go with a lot of hot hand type stuff. The health of Batum and Morris is one thing. Whoever's soaking up the extra time, I think is just going to be a lot of throw a lot of shit against the wall and see what sticks type stuff.
The fact that Zubac seeds anywhere from 33 to 40 minutes is massive. And it throws a wrench into the works for sure, because he was actually a really good play today too. Like Zubac was somebody that we both really liked on the strategy show. Check that out. Monday through Sunday still. As long as there's games, we got a strategy show at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and it's worth your time. I can promise you that much. But I can't help but think, you know, every lineup that was built earlier in the day is wiped, and not just the lineups that didn't, not just the lineups that had Zubac, but the ones that didn't have him too, because now you're introducing a whole other variable into the mix where you've got a ton of minutes that need to be soaked up, whether it's Morris, whether it's DeMarcus Cousins, whether it's Nicholas Batum getting additional minutes, Terrence Mann getting more minutes. There's so many different ways this could go. Like, is it possible that Ty Lue decides to go unusually small like he's done in the past? We saw him do it against Utah for like long periods of time. It's tough against the guy in Ayton who just had 22 rebounds, is averaging a pretty wild 25 rebound chances per game in the series. That could destroy them if they're getting eaten alive on the boards and not making shots.
I expect them to have to go small, because I just don't think Boogie is the answer. We got people in chat being like, Boogie can play 25 minutes, can play 20 plus minutes.
They'll lose by 100 points.
Yeah. So he's going to get wrecked in the playoffs. That's first and foremost. They're going to put him in a pick and roll every time, and they're going to give up a basket every time. He's played 25 minutes. He's played north of 20 minutes once. I believe this is once. I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. I am. He's played north of 20 minutes once since he's been on the team. So that is April 6th on. He hasn't been north of that since then. To think that Boogie Cousins is going to go out there and play more than 20 minutes is, I mean, that's going to be a really, really difficult option. I don't know how that's possible.
So I'm less worried about how many minutes he can play than how many minutes he can't play. Here's what I mean. I care more about what I would project this as floor than his minute ceiling, because if Boogie gets 12 minutes, if Cousins gets, if we're projecting Cousins for 12 to 14 minutes at basically as cheap as you get, then that's really 100% okay with me. And I will have a lot of DeMarcus Cousins. The problem is, I honestly, Jess, I'll be completely honest. I have no idea how many minutes to project him for. None at all. Like, if he played 5 minutes, I wouldn't think, wow, didn't see that coming. If he played 25 minutes, I'd think that's insane. And I never saw that coming. So as you can see, I expect him to play. Like, I think his minutes floor is obviously lower than the ceiling, but you know what I mean? Like, I just think he has a very low minutes floor, and I don't think his ceiling is that high, but you only need 12 to 15 minutes from him to get a good game.
Yeah, and there's a key distinction here. It doesn't matter really. Like, if Boogie plays, which he should play, it doesn't matter what's happening on DraftKings. He's the flat minimum 1,000. Like you just play him and it doesn't matter. He's 6,500 on FanDuel. You actually need him to be good to be functional. And like you need the minutes on FanDuel. You don't really need the minutes on DraftKings because the minutes on DraftKings just become excessive. Like the difference between him playing 12 minutes and 18 minutes is basically zero for him on DK. Because if he's probably going to get there in 12 minutes, you can't like extra get there in 18.
Right.
Once you're $1,000, you're just sort of in once you're in. So you don't really have to worry about the ceiling. The ceiling matters on FanDuel if you're trying to play him in the utility. Based on where I have him, I think he's like an 8% type guy, and that's exactly where we have his ownership.
Troy Cole in all caps says, and I quote, bullshit. They need Boogie to guard Ayton. They go small, Ayton will eat them alive. Dude, just because you're big doesn't mean you're a good defender. And Demarcus Cousins defensively has been like the biggest liability maybe the biggest liability on the entire team.
Yes. Yeah. If we're ranking guys to guard DeAndre Ayton today, Boogie is not at the top of that list. I would much rather have Marcus Morris. I'd probably give it a shot with Nick Batum. Boogie is not that. Boogie wasn't good at defense when he didn't have blown Achilles and quads and shit.
And hamstring. Yeah. I mean, when he wasn't pieced together like a rag doll, he
was still bad at that thing.
Right. Was he a massive liability? No, because he was so good everywhere else. Like
he was still athletic then.
There was a year where he was knocking down like 40% of threes. He was top 20 in transition points, Josh. He was top 5 in post-up points. He was top 5 in like ISO. Literally, if you went to NBA stats and just pulled up play type data, he was top 5 in all of them outside of, spot up or even transition. He was really good. And my point is, the guy is 100% nowhere close to what he used to be. That's why he's not getting minutes in the postseason. Demarcus Cousins is one of my favorite players ever. You know this very much.
Yes.
I love Demarcus Cousins. I loved watching Boogie play. I always wish he went to a team where he could have excelled and where they could have been good. But that ship has sailed. And I think we all knew that Demarcus Cousins was never going to be that same version of himself. So, yeah, when you're not great on offense anymore, when they're not using you as a distributor as they did in Sacramento or even in New Orleans, how much can you really do if you're getting crushed in the pick and roll and you have zero lateral movement and you're nowhere close to what you once were? It's tough.
Yeah. Chris Paul is going to do real bad things to him if he has to be out there for a lot. It's just going to go really, really poorly. The problem is, like, maybe you just have to say, we got to try to outscore these guys, because it's not like they've got an alternative, like a defensive move that they can make. I think they just have to try it. Like, Boogie's got to go out there, play as hard as he can for like 4 minutes, hope you win that battle, and then park his ass and like let him get a blow and then run him back out there again. Because if you're running him out there for 8-minute stretches, those final 4 minutes of that 8 minutes are going to go really poorly for the Clippers.
And by the way, yeah, someone said if Cousins starts, he's a lock. Of course. I mean, Cousins.
I don't think he's starting.
No, there was somebody earlier saying, like, why don't you guys like him when he's confirmed starter? If you've seen it, please tell me where, but I haven't seen confirmed starter anywhere. If that's the case and I'm wrong, I'm happy to, I'm happy to look into that. But just to be clear here, Josh, I still think DeMarcus Cousins at this price point could be like very, very, very good today.
Yes.
He's still a good per minute guy. He's still like a 1.25 fantasy point per minute player on the season. All of those things can be true while also saying that he's a huge defensive liability. And even if he's racking up counting stats, real quick, even if he's racking
we got it.
What's that?
Terrence Mann is starting for Zubats.
Okay. That I would have had Terrence Mann or Batum in there. That makes sense.
Yep.
That makes a lot more.
Same.
So,
yeah.
And here's why I did. Why would Cousins start when Morris was starting against Gobert? I get someone will say, well, Gobert is not an offensive player. Yeah, sure. But he's still a very good rebounder. Like you get what I'm saying. So
look, Boogie Cousins was never starting.
No. Do I still think Demarcus Cousins, if he gets even 10 to 13 minutes, is a solid option? Sure.
Yeah. Let me be clear here. He's a fantastic play on DraftKings today, because I think they have to play him in some form at some point in time during the game. And at the flat minimum 1,000, he can just sort of like sneak his way into 10 fantasy points, and that's all that matters. I love getting to Boogie today on DK. With that said, he sucks, and the Clippers are much worse having to play him.
David Grant Jr. Premium says, y'all have lost your minds. Boogie still shits on Morris and anyone else on that bench.
I think that's a true statement from him. I think he means what he says. to come up with that after watching 3 rounds of the playoffs where he doesn't play because he sucks, and didn't play mostly during the regular season because he sucks. Like, you really got to be standing hard for Demarcus Cousins to think that any part of that statement could be true.
Is Boogie a very good play today on DraftKings, as Josh said? Absolute. No doubt about it. Is he bad for the team winning basketball games? Absolutely. Like, yes. I think we have to get, don't we have to give Ty Lue credit for some of these rotations he's ran with, despite dealing without his best player? For the adjustments that he's made, you could say, oh, they're down 3-1. Yeah. Okay. They, as you said, coin flip games pretty much. And the one game they won by 14. Like, this could be an easy 3-1 Clippers series or 2-2, no doubt.
Yeah.
If you give Ty Lue any credit, then you have to put some weight into the fact that Demarcus Cousins isn't playing at all. It's not like he's not playing a lot. He's not playing at all.
Right.
So can you explain this to people one more time? Yes, he's a good play.
On DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm not a huge fan, because you really do need him to be out there for a ton.
Right. Yes, he's a good play. No, he's not a good player anymore. And it pains me to say that.
Yeah. I would prefer it if he were still really good, but it should be abundantly clear that he's not.
Players coming back from Achilles can't all do what Kevin Durant did. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and it also helps to be as good as Kevin Durant is and not Boogie Cousins too.
Right. Yeah, and light as a feather too.
Yeah. I mean, I was a huge Boogie fan, but like, we are multiple years past when that was a relevant thing.
Yeah, it's a shame. T.O. Deck 20, welcome to Team Awesemo, man. How is he just joining here on the YouTube channel?
I don't know.
That is he said, thought I joined way back, but that was only subscribe. All right, fair enough. I'll take your word for it, I guess. Super chat from Santana Martin Jr. He says, DraftKings, Chris Paul, Morris, or Booker and Batum.
Chris Paul, Morris.
Batum's still not starting now that we've got that lineup.
It's that's got to be Chris Paul, Morris.
Chris Paul, Morris. Okay. And TF, thanks for the super chat. He says nothing, just hits. Oh, he said, love you guys. Thanks for the show. Thanks, man. Appreciate the support here. We are 27 likes away from 300 too. So if you haven't hit that, much obliged.
Do you want me to get the likes up further? This is usually my gimmick on Live Before Lock. I know how to do it.
I mean, sure. We're at 300, less than halfway through the show. And Chris Worstel just joined Team Awesemo as well. So what's up, Chris? I'd say we're doing quite well, but please go ahead.
I mean, we're doing well for you.
Dude, the thing is, when you do Live Before Locks, I've already gifted you 500 likes. And you you tack on like another 100.
Sure. Sure. Whatever you got to tell yourself, man.
Darren,
that's what most people are really excited for, the undercard of Poirier and McGregor, I'm sure.
Actually, I am. Well, not the undercard. I'm excited for,
all those prelim guys. That's why all the fans are in the arena.
I'm excited for the co-main event is what I would say.
Sure.
Darren Unger, thanks for the super chat. FanDuel, Jackson Mann or Chris Paul Batum? I mean, it's got to be Jackson Mann.
Jackson Mann.
Yeah, it's got to be. Thanks for the super chat, man. Let's see here. I'm seeing if any of because we got plenty of time here. We're going to get into all of this and really break down the rotations and the studs and the captain spot. We'll even do a little cash game GPP talk. But I always try, if we have any premium members here, or team members at Awesemo. If they have questions, I try and hit on them. And if you're in Slack, we'll get to you as well. Get you priority there. Okay. All right. Some of these awesome. Yo, there he is. Welcome to Team Awesemo. We're racking them up today, baby. All right. So with Zubats out, we could spend a lot more time on this, but we'll break it down into different segments. Let's hit on the studs first, though. There's no Giannis on a slate like this. There's no, even I guess, Paul George is pretty comparable at this point without Kawhi Leonard. How much of him are you getting in the captain spot today?
A lot. I mean, he's the unquestioned top captain. We have him projected for about 33% ownership in the captain spot. I've got it even higher than that, somewhere in the neighborhood of 39. And it's even easier to put Paul George in the captain spot now that you've unlocked a little bit of Boogie. But what is this gentleman doing? Jordan, I guess you'll get to that in a bit. No, he's the unquestioned top option, whether that's MVP on FanDuel, captain spot on DraftKings. He's the guy with the highest ceiling. Like, I've got him projected for 10 more fantasy points than anybody else on this slate. He just ends up there by default. He is unquestionably the best play for today.
All right. Well, you don't only have Paul George, but you have Ayton coming off that huge 19 and 22 game. He's played well. His ceiling, though, I mean, he clearly has a ceiling. The question is, how often is he hitting that ceiling? Tonight, however, you've got DeAndre, and then I'm lumping him in with the studs, Josh, because 13-8 in the captain spot is still pretty expensive on FanDuel. 14,000 is the same price as Chris Paul and more expensive than Devin Booker. So DeAndre Ayton is definitely considered a stud tonight, whether you buy into that or not. So the big question here is, how much does he benefit from the Clippers going small today? And I would assume small for the large majority of the game, probably like 85% of the game, 80% of the game.
I'm not entirely sure it matters all that much unless Boogie is on the floor. Because if they're going to just a full switching scheme, then I don't think that Ayton's going to get too much of a benefit at this point. He's going to end up with somebody else on him, and it's not going to matter. The situations where they are allowing him to get matchups on Boogie, I think that is where the real benefit comes in. But if the Clippers are just going to switch to something where they are switching literally every action, I don't think it's going to change all that much for Ayton, other than it should make him a little bit more successful on the boards.
You're on to my prop today. We'll get there. I think Ayton's success on the boards today could be significant, Josh. Significant.
I agree.
And it already has been. 717 Sports says, love you guys. How many minutes you got for Cousins? I'm actually glad he asked because we never actually gave our minutes. I'm going with 11. It's a guess.
11, I believe, is what we have on the website right now. I want to double check. We'll give that one out for everybody. I'm refreshing right now just to make sure. And I have 12, by the way.
Okay. 11, 12. I mean, yeah. Actually, Josh, matter of fact, our NBA Showdown player projections are free at awesemo.com today.
Well, there you go. Go check it out, everybody. You don't even have to listen to us say it. I mean, you should keep listening to us say it, but that's neither here nor there.
Please keep listening to us. MLB main slate ownership projections are free, but that is that ship has sailed, Josh. So.
Yes, it has.
Hopefully you got in on that. Yeah, but projections are free. Usually the stuff's behind paywall, so check it out. Again, awesemo.com/join if you want to get access to all the goodies behind the scenes there for every single sport out there, even tennis and all that shit. We got you covered. The best stuff you're going to find. All right, so you have him at 12, right?
Yes.
There you go. Thanks for the love, man. Chris Paul and Devin Booker. These are the two spots. And I actually had a buddy who said, hey, talk about who your second favorite or your two favorite Suns players are today. When it comes to Chris Paul and Devin Booker, Booker's phenomenal. And he could rip off like a 60 real point game and you wouldn't bat an eye. Well, you would, but you wouldn't be shocked by it. But he could also go for 24 points with 30 fantasy points, and you also wouldn't be shocked. He's finished. This is pretty remarkable. He's finished with less than 30 DraftKings points in 3 straight games, and he's averaging around 40 minutes in those games.
Yeah, which is really crazy considering he was coming off 77.
But see, that's what I'm saying. He can do that.
Yeah.
Granted, Chris Paul was out that game. That was a triple-double, but still.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see Booker pull 13 boards in that scenario, as if like Chris Paul should not be the reason that Devin Booker gets a ton of extra rebounds. I do think it's still interesting that he took 22 shots the most recent game, 21 the game before that. Like, it's going to fall eventually. He's not going to go 1 for 12 from 3.
The 11 assists were actually more surprising than the 13 rebounds. Eric Lindquist and I looked this up. He has one double-digit assist game over the last, I think, calendar year. Isn't that crazy?
Point book, man.
Yeah, it's nuts. And he's got double-digit rebounds in like 5 of his last 10 games, which is crazy.
Yeah, his last double-digit assist game was February 7th of 2012. And then before that, I mean, I'm not even in the ballpark.
What's 2012?
2021, my bad.
Okay, I was going to say, we are in the future, son. If you get to go way further back than that. I want to know where you're at on him today, though, because even with Chris Paul, he still has a ton of upside. Like, is Devin Booker a top option for you today, or is that big ownership, because he's still very high owned despite 3 ugly games in a row? Is that kind of dissuading you a little bit? What do you think?
Man, 2012 is one of the dumbest shits I've said on the show ever. That's incredible. No, I really like Book today. To me, he's my favorite Sun just overall.
So that would be almost 20,000 years in the future?
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
That's Safe Moon money, man.
That's when it might finally materialize.
Yeah. I hope somebody could put me on ice like Ted Williams' head. 62% likelihood of being in the optimal for Booker coming out of my numbers. We've got him owned a little bit less than that. I think he's getting underrepresented in the flex right now. So I like getting to Booker. I have him slightly ahead of Chris Paul just overall. I got him projected more than Chris Paul by about 2.5 points. And that's enough to make up the extra $400 in salary. So for me, I prefer Booker to Paul, but that's basically a coin flip. I prefer like Paul and Ayton is where it gets tricky to me. I think those guys are super similar, but I think they're both sort of under-owned a little bit at the flex.
So if you're making one lineup, okay, one lineup, let's say like a larger field single entry, because you see a lot of that out there these days.
Yes.
And your decision comes down to Chris Paul or DeAndre Ayton. Who is it?
Oh, man. All right, here's what I would do. I would start with Ayton, and I would want to know what that additional $1,400 got me. If I would have no problem going to Chris Paul, but like I have Chris Paul projected for more than DeAndre Ayton. Like if I have 10,600 and it's the last spot, in theory, I'm taking Chris Paul because he just projects better. But I want to know what I could upgrade for that 1,400 because I would start with Ayton. I have Chris Paul 56.8% to be in the optimal. I have DeAndre Ayton at 55.8. So 1 percentage point difference. The key piece for me is making sure that I'm building my lineup correctly and using that 1,400. If I'm not, then I'm going to just take the raw fantasy points from Paul.
Okay. Shem and Gladi. I can't imagine it's in Glade. Maybe it is, but I'm going to go with Gladi. With the super chat says, since Morris will likely be in the starting 5, he is, right? Somebody just deleted it. Was it? That's weird. Did you delete that super chat?
What?
Was it you, Jordan?
The guy that just keeps repeating himself over and over again?
No. Shem had a super chat and I began reading. Yeah, why'd you do that?
No,
Jeff?
I got Coasters Gaming.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Nope.
No, I didn't get Shem.
Go up to the super chat at least and delete his super chat. I didn't even get halfway through it. Poor guy gives us.
I didn't do it.
But you're the only one that can remove it.
No, I'm not.
I can't.
Every single person has. I'm telling you, man. I don't know. We all have the same sort of abilities here.
All right. Yeah, Shem, just can you ask the question? As I'm reading it, it just disappears. What was the question? Just ask the question again, if you don't mind. Thanks for the super chat. Totally accidental on Josh's part.
I didn't do it. I got the other guy after that.
Maybe it's Tom just trolling us from the Awesemo account. I have no idea.
I mean, to be fair, like I'm not mad about it. He repeated himself like 7 times. So
okay, well, he still super chatted us, so I try and hit that. At captain on DraftKings, are there any cheap options that you're willing to go to? Just forget about this. Don't worry about it anymore.
Yes. So I'm still willing to go to Patrick Beverley at 3,200. I think that he is slightly underowned. I think people are probably going to go to Boogie at captain more than they should. So that is not a spot that I would like to get to. If we're talking cheap, though, to me, that's it. Like the guy that I think is getting most underrepresented at captain is $8,600 Reggie Jackson. I don't think that there's a ton of value in that like 4K range at captain any longer.
I have to address this. And then I want to talk about MVP on FanDuel because I don't like FUD being spread in chat.
FUD?
Yeah. Why does Josh hate Boogie so much? We know dude is a shell of himself, but offensively for 15 minutes a game, he'd be fine if you can help him defensively. Another one, why are they not playing Cousins? I don't know what else I can say, man. I don't know what else I can say. We are playing Cousins. There's no doubt about it. Even at 11 to 13 minutes, I like Cousins.
I have a lot of Cousins.
Yeah.
More than the public.
But Cousins is not good. Nobody hates it. I don't know. I don't want people seeing that and be like, oh, okay, they're all right. Hey, super chat from William Field says, love you guys. Thanks, brother. Turn your hats around for a Cousins rally, 25 fantasy points. You got it, pal.
I mean, I'd rather my lineups fail.
All right, turn it around. Yeah. What, they get 25 fantasy points?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't want to root for Boogie in this scenario. I want the Suns to win, so my bet wins.
Boogie can still have 25 and be a liability, so
Yeah, that's probably true. Is the 5 minutes up for Shem yet?
He doesn't wait. Did Shem get timed out?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it went away. Someone hit him with the 5-minute ban.
Oh, so he couldn't even re-ask his question.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's
why I was telling you, like, I didn't delete a super chat.
How are you approaching the oh, I see. He started spamming my super chat wasn't answered. We were going to get to you, dude.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't do it.
I got you. Someone did. How do you approach the MVP spot on FanDuel and the star and the hell's the other one called?
Pro, man.
Star and pro. And the super
bang up
MVP.
Job on the research prior to this one.
I just always forget, man.
It's terrible naming. You play a lot of Paul George, that's for sure. Projected for 66% ownership in the MVP. Now, while I think that is slightly high, I still think it's like 58%. So I can't get too crazy. It's either him, it's Booker, or it's Paul. Maybe a little bit of Ayton or Reggie Jackson. To me, those are the only 5 options you could have at MVP. They're pretty much the only 5 options you could have at the star spot as well. And even pro gets a little bit dicey, but you can start working yourself into like the Terrence Manns and Mikal Bridges if you want to get different. But Paul George is unquestionably the top MVP play today on FanDuel. You can't. It's hard for me to say, like, you can want to roster somebody else from a DFS perspective, but if you have an opinion that anyone other than Paul George is the best MVP, your opinions are incorrect.
66% projected in the MVP spot today. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. 99.9% ownership. How do you feel about a full Paul George fade, Josh?
Okay, so I've been asking this question a lot lately for this sort of stuff. If I knew Paul George was 100% owned, I would just not play him because I have a much better chance of winning the actual tournament. And that's the only goal. If we're talking about trying to ship 100K or whatever is up top, if you knew he was in every single entry except for yours, I wouldn't play him in a single one.
Okay. If you had 150 entries, you wouldn't play him in a single one. You wouldn't even put him in like utility or, because
no, I definitely wouldn't put him in. You should never put him in utility.
But he's 66% of the MVP. So
right.
What if he's just good. And what you're right, because on FanDuel, you're still paying a premium for him. So on DraftKings, it would make a lot more sense, right? Because you can get the 1.5. You're right. I guess. So you would just not play him at all.
Yes. Yeah. Now that's a preposterous stance because he's never going to be like 100% on the dot. And that's why it's 100% on the dot, because the day that you're right, you're immediately at the top.
Pretty much. I mean, it would
if it's like 95%, then you're still competing with a couple thousand more entries and you might not be getting there. This is an impossible situation. But if you had the information, they said every single entry has him, I would just fade him because that's your best path to success. He blows an ankle in that first possession or so he rips his foot off like he's Gordon Hayward on the first possession of the game. You're printing money.
What about
or he just plays like bad, like Devin Booker has for the past couple days.
What about the 99.9% ownership?
Right. Like from a projection standpoint, I think like 95% is sort of the upper bound. I'm happy to still get there because you're still competing with a lot of lineups. The only way you're looking for that full fade is if there's just like a no-brainer guarantee that he's in everything.
Malcolm Revamp said, thank you for the super chat. Says, who for a captain MVP for DraftKings and FanDuel cash? Okay, so I didn't see the cash part at first. I was going to say, bro, check the sidebar, check the topic, listen to the conversation. That you did not have to give us any super chat to give you the information we were already giving out. But for cash, Josh, who would you say your favorite captain is? FanDuel, we know it's Paul George. Just no at MVP. No question.
It's Paul George both. And,
okay, even on you're still going Paul George captain at cash on DraftKings as well. Okay.
Yeah, if I look at my cash sort for DK, Paul George is in my top 22 lineups. So that could be potentially my cash lineups.
Got it. I want to have some fun with this rotation breakdown. We got into it a little bit earlier on, but this is where it starts to get interesting because we can kind of get into the weeds and hopefully give you guys a decent idea of at least where we're at. And this could be wrong, especially for the Clippers. There's no doubt about it. It could just be outright wrong. We don't know what this is going to look like without Zubats in the rotation. Of course, without Kawhi Leonard as well, but without Zubats, that makes it tough. So Jordan, let's hit the Hall of Fame first, and then we'll rip through these. We'll get to our top props, get to the optimal lineup. I'm sure Josh has it loaded up already, and then we'll close it out with our final thoughts. Let me just, we got to shout out our people at Awesemo. Oh, yeah. Go to Awesemo or at Awesemo Hall of Fame, Awesemo HOF on Twitter. Tweet us your wins. Include Josh and myself in that tweet as well because we like to see that stuff. And when you do so, right, if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Everything included, everything I've talked about throughout the show, all of our tools, all of them built by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. Get them for the entire month, right around the $100 value. All you got to do is download the Awesemo profile pic at awesemo.com/avatar. It's simple as that. Don't do custom ones, guys. I love seeing you win, but it doesn't. I can't. If it's an avatar, it's an Awesemo avatar with like a dick coming out of it. I can't give you a free month for that. Although Josh would love to. You'll win the month. Awesemo Hall of Fame. Download the Awesemo. I didn't mean it like that. I'm saying it would be funny. Like it would be funny, but you can't do it.
You're ridiculous. I'm trying to look and see if that dude asked his question again.
Okay, here we go. Rob winning a second place. Get your free month, fella. Actually, no, you tied. Might have tied with 3 or less. Either way, good win there. And Rhett Kramer, shout out to the whole Awesemo squad for putting in the work to help me do this. Much love. Solid to you. Good job, Rhett Kramer. A couple more. Our boy SF Deck TO, who just became a team member here at Awesemo with another one. I have live bullets every night for a couple of reasons. Awesemo and the whole Awesemo team, without a doubt, the best DFS team in the biz. Wouldn't rock that logo otherwise. Nice, almost $2,000 win there. Congrats to you. TY7, $4,000 win himself. And Peter Hanley again. I mean, this guy doesn't stop winning. 2 multiple $13,000 wins. Fella's got the magic touch, and you'd love to see it. Congrats, man. He said, what a great weekend. Thanks to those great guys at Awesemo. I wasn't there for the weekend, but we got a decent team, and happy to see all that. Go to awesemo.com/avatar, download that, and tweet us at Awesemo HOF. Congrats to you guys. Love to see it. Makes me very, very happy. Josh, let's talk rotations here, brother. And we're 18 likes away from 400, so maybe you do your thing because you think you're better at this.
Well, now that you've already said it, you're going to get the credit for it. People are just going to hit it by default and get over 400. Look, this is, I think, like the first time that we've been doing a live before lock. So here's my ask. We've got 1,700 people. I'm not even going to be as condescending as I normally am. Can we get to 500 for Laffy and I, and for Jordan behind the virtual glass? I don't think we're asking for much. If you're here, you like what you're hearing. Even if you don't like what you're hearing, great. 2012. Thanks for that, Jordan.
Nice
hit
work,
that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up if you can. Let's see if we can get to 500 likes while we're still on the show.
Not bad. That is awesome, by the way. That is awesome.
What was that? I have no idea.
From the movie 2012. It's like an apocalyptic movie.
Never saw it.
It's pretty good stuff. I watched a movie the other day called Take Shelter that got really great reviews. Absolute shit. I mean, I'm telling you, they had to have paid people to write these reviews. Don't watch it. And if you do, let me know how bad. I almost fell asleep. Okay, let's break down this rotation. And guys, I saw your Slack questions. We'll get to them right after this. Ray Duncan, I see that. We'll get to that as well. And we're almost at 500, so that's good stuff. The Clippers rotation. You have Terrence Mann starting, right? You have Nick Batum, who hasn't been getting many minutes coming off the bench, and you have Marcus Morris, who has been starting but not getting a lot of minutes for one reason or another, presumably health. No Zubats, no Kawhi Leonard, and Reggie Jackson playing a ton of minutes himself. We don't have to talk about George. We don't have to talk about Jackson. There's a lot of guys we don't have to talk about. The guys that we need to talk about are like the Terrence Manns and the Nick Batums, because we've already exhausted everything we have on the Demarcus Cousins.
Sorry, I got caught up reading some stuff. Clippers starters and Sun starters are officially announced. Sun starters, not surprising at all. Exactly who you would expect.
We don't even need to talk about that rotation. Just
no, not at all.
What's that?
Oh, no, I'm with you. I saw News God drop that in chat like at that moment. So I just wanted to make sure that I was getting that out there for everybody.
I'm just curious where you're at on to break finalize the rotation here with Batum and guys like Terrence Mann. And Luke Kennard, because that's a big one too.
It really is. And I wish that I had like a firm thought process, but this is the most in flux we've seen a team in a while, because I've been under the impression that Nick Batum should have been playing significantly more for the past 3 games, and he's just not doing that. And the only reason that I would suspect that is because he's hurt. We just don't know it. He's not getting listed on an injury report or anything like that. So I think that like Nick Batum could play 34 minutes today, and I wouldn't, like, my jaw wouldn't be on the floor. That's not where I'm projecting him, not even remotely close, because it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to do that. But like, that would be my first thought. Nick Batum is going to fall into 30 minutes. Now he's not starting, so that changes it up a little bit. I mean, Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson, Paul George, these guys are playing, Mann probably plays like 34 minutes, 36 minutes, something like that. Reggie Jackson's probably going 38 to 40. Paul George is probably playing 42, 44 if this game stays competitive. The giant question mark in all of this is the health of Nick Batum and the health of Marcus Morris. And I don't feel comfortable giving my thoughts, because to me, we're guessing on injuries, and I don't know what those guys could play 48 minutes combined today, and they can play 68 minutes combined today. And both of those things would make sense to me.
Let's rapid fire here.
Let's do it.
Top punts on the slate, both sides.
Unquestionably on DraftKings, it's Demarcus Cousins on the Clippers. He doesn't have to be out there all that much at 1K to be able to pay off that salary. If we want to consider $3,200 a punt, I'm a really big fan of Patrick Beverley. Abdel Nader would be the guy that is going to get like sort of minimum salary love for the Suns. I don't really see it. The guy that I would be looking at would be Dario Saric at 1,800, just because his path to minutes is so clean. If Ayton can't be out there, it's just going to be Saric. That one's a pretty easy relationship to understand. I think he's getting a little bit overowned, but as a value play, to me, that looks good.
Okay. And cash game GPP, biggest difference between tournaments and cash games today? Is it that you're just far more willing to make different decisions at captain and on DraftKings in tournaments than you are in cash?
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. Like, I like getting to Reggie Jackson a lot at captain in GPPs. I mean, Paul George is unquestionably my cash option there. I think Boogie pretty much has to be in a cash lineup at this point. I have Beverly in mine. We'll see. I mean, he's projected for the second most ownership on the Clippers. So I think Beverly and Boogie as a cash combo is pretty close to a no-brainer for the Clip side. But on the GP, like from a GPP standpoint on DK, I want to get a lot more Reggie Jackson. I think he's going under owned. I actually, based on our ownership, I probably want a little bit more Boogie. And then it's more the fades for me. Like I'd like to be pretty light on Campaign on DraftKings at 6,200. I think he's going a little bit over owned. I'd like to be lighter on Saric, although I know how that one beats me. And then Luke Kennard at 2,800 could fall into a bunch of extra minutes here. I mean, they've got a lot to go around, and I don't think there's any natural place where they're going to end up. But we've got Kennard projected for north of 20% ownership. I've got him more in the 8% range. So the lineups for me on DK from a GPP standpoint are made more based on the fades than they are on the likes. Speaking of likes, we're over 500.
Yes, we are over 500. Thank you, guys. You're the greatest. We still have about 1,600, 1,700 people watching. It's a perfect time for me to throw this out there because there's like, whenever I talk about No House Advantage, and I promise you, when we do ad reads, they're not always going to help you. So, when I'm doing them late in the show, this one, 100% beneficial to anyone who's willing to listen because the props there, Josh, we say it a million times, they're static. They do not move. They are all set up for Ivica Zubats to play today. They don't change when someone gets ruled out. Use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, get $20 on your first deposit. Get some of these props in like immediately. Jordan, you can throw the top props up because I want to use these with the No House Advantage and also for pretty much anywhere else. The tools are free at awesemo.com. The prop projections and the optimal lineups tool, they're free every single day of the week. It's a peer-to-peer player prop format, tournament style. Instead of like salaries like other sites, you're putting in player props. The ones you like the most go at the top. The ones you're not confident in go at the bottom. It's a point system. So here's what I'm thinking, Josh. DeAndre Ayton, his rebound prop has already gone up to 11.5. I've seen it even higher than that in some spots. Okay. And the overs juiced in spots. He's at 10.5 on No House Advantage. We've got him projected for over 12 rebounds today. That is a prop I really like. Usually I wouldn't take the over for rebound props on dueling players on both teams, but I like over on Paul George as well. Over 9.5, I got it at plus money. I mentioned it earlier today. That immediately saw the over get juiced, and then after the Zubats news, he's averaging 15 potential rebounds a game. At No House Advantage, it's at 8.5 rebounds. So you're just getting insane value on some of these. Pay attention to where the other books are. Use our player prop tool. Go to oddshopper.com. See where they're at across all of those books. Please take advantage of that. Use the promo code Awesemo and hit it at other books as well if you can, because these are some props that we definitely like a decent amount tonight. What do you got?
Terrence Mann over 3.5 rebounds at No House Advantage is our number one ranked over prop today. We've got it projected at 6.5. So we're basically coming close to doubling it. That is the prop that has the best odds of hitting if you're looking to take an over. Nick Batum is second, points plus rebounds plus assists. The line is 8.5. We have it now projected north of 13. They are the two that grade out the best. And you can see all of that because it's free on the website if you're playing at No House Advantage, which you should be doing.
Especially on a night like tonight. Just no doubt about it. All right. What do you say? I'm willing to skip a couple of these segments and take some questions.
Hey, by the way, the big contest on No House Advantage right now is 81% full. It's $25 to get in, 243 of 300 entries, 2K up top. So there is likely to be overlay and potentially even like legitimate overlay, not just reduced rake.
For sure. That's a good call. Sean Kaiser, Dario or Cousins? Thanks for the super chat on FanDuel, Josh. We got to make these quick.
That would be Cousins, but I'm not really fond of either one of those options.
Dean is DK High Roller Tournament, Booker, Bev, and Mann, or Ayton, Morris, Crowder. Booker, Bev, Mann, or Ayton, Morris, Crowder.
Booker, Bev, Mann.
Okay. Ray Duncan, must starts from tonight's game on single entry DraftKings Monday through Tuesday contest. I haven't. That's tough, man.
It's not something that I've been looking at. So I don't know any of the salaries for anybody on the Tuesday side.
Yeah. Sorry about that, dude. We're doing straight showdown here. I wish I could help you there, but I do appreciate the super chat. If you had a must play from tonight, Josh, who would it be?
I mean, like ignoring the fact that Paul George is very obviously the best play, and that's like a really dumb answer. Reggie Jackson.
Okay, there you go. And let's get to our premium subs over at Slack. And if you join our team, be sure to jump in Slack. I want to get to these because these are our people. Courtney, FanDuel utility tournament, Bridges, Cousins, or Crowder, Batum?
Ooh, I have Batum ahead of Cousins. And I have Bridges and Crowder as basically a coin flip. So Crowder, Batum.
Kilo Whiskey, would you allow a 5-1 stack of either team, 20 max on DraftKings? Interesting question.
Yes.
Okay. Any preferred team?
Wouldn't matter all that much to me. I'll say this. After running my sims, the average makeup was 3.5 Clippers, 2.5 Suns. So to me, it's probably more likely that you get to a 5-1 Clippers before you get to a 5-1 Suns.
Okay. Azuri, Beverly and Jackson or Bridges and Morris on DraftKings? Beverly, Jackson, or Bridges, Morris?
Beverly and Jackson.
Tall to God.
That's like my preferred combo that's under-owned today.
Okay. Booker or CP3 for last piece in DraftKings?
I have Booker projected for 2.5 more fantasy points. So Devin Booker.
Okay. And I'm in 2 single entry contests, the 3,000 people and 5K entries. Does Paul George need to be my captain to win them, Josh?
No, not even close. Yeah. It's more likely that he is not the winning captain. Just he is the most frequent winning captain, but it's more likely that the field wins at captain than Paul George does.
Last man in DraftKings tournament, 4,800 left. Morris, Beverly, or someone else?
It would be Beverly for me. Although Marcus Morris is projected for less ownership right now, and in theory, his minutes are uncapped today. I just don't know how much he could actually play.
All right, last one here, and we'll put a bow on it. Best cash game build for tonight. Thinking George is captain. Yeah, that's best cash game build. Any other advice you'd give for someone finalizing their cash games lineups? About 1.5 minutes until lock.
I've got Beverly and Cousins pretty firmly in my DK cash lineup, at which point you're probably getting to 2 of the 3 main Suns, whether that's Booker, Paul, or Ayton. I think you can make a case for all of them. I have Booker and Paul. And then your last spot in is whatever fits for you, really.
All right. I love it. Final thoughts on today's slate, Josh. We'll wrap it up with this. Cousins is not a great player anymore. He is a great play on DraftKings. Ayton, Booker, Paul, George, Reggie Jackson, all of these guys in great spots. And then you kind of just have to hope that we don't get it wrong with this Clippers rotation with the Vitsa Zubats out.
Yes, we do. The Boogie stuff is going to be really wild. I hope he gets out there just enough to not submarine my lineups, but I don't want to watch it happen. But I do actually want him to be out there as much as possible because it will likely lead me to a win for the Suns, a win for my bet, and another W on the breakfast menu to help extend my lead over one Ben Raza.
Oh, you're up on Ben.
I am up on Ben.
Oh, he cannot be happy. Check that out every day. I'm assuming Monday through Friday, as a matter of fact. The breakfast menu, their favorite 3 bets each for the day. Doesn't just need to be basketball, right? This could be anything.
So it's going to be anything, generally speaking. For right now, we're basically just focusing on each NBA game. But we're going to hit on the UFC pay-per-view in 2 weeks. Probably going to bring somebody on for that one as well. We're going to be dipping our toe into a lot of different stuff. The rest of the Euros for soccer. We'll probably get into Wimbledon a little bit. We're going to be all over the map.
All right. Well, it is 9 p.m. on the East Coast, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. And Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time, so who knows what time it is there right now. I don't know, but basketball time, I'll tell you that much. Thanks to all of you guys for hanging out. Thanks for getting us well over that 500 mark. Dude, we had over 1,700 people watching a Showdown slate tonight, so basketball is still here, baby, and we're still making things happen.
I love it, man. I love it. Are we back tomorrow?
Damn right we're back tomorrow.
See y'all tomorrow.
Do it again. Jordan cues that music. Thanks for producing this one, Jordan. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck tonight. Hey, hit us up on the Twitters as well at Josh Engleman at Lafayette_D. Peace.